1,
Ah, yes. This is a kabuki dancer, isn't it? And each dance tells a story with the costume and the makeup and the movements all communicating something different. The only problem is you have to know the language of kabuki dance to understand what he's saying.
2,
She's obviously angry about something, and she has decided to protest about it. She's using a poster to communicate her message and the strength of the crowd as well. That makes the message much louder and more powerful.
3,
This gesture says 1,000 words, doesn't it? So gentle, so tender. It's communicating love and protection. It's amazing how a hand gesture can say so much.
4,
I love this photo. The way the two people are looking at each other, the way they seem to be so deep in conversation. They're not just talking with words. The expressions on their faces and the gestures they're making with their hands are all part of the conversation.
5,
There are two things going on in this photo. I mean, first of all, there's the keyboard, and that's so much part of modern communication, isn't it? You know, people staying in touch by email, instant messaging services, or social networks. But it's also the hands. Look at the henna on her hands. That tells a story too. It communicates a lot about the person who's typing, don't you think?
6,
Okay, this one is obviously showing sign language. I wonder if they are listening to music and are having trouble hearing each other, or maybe they don't speak the same language.
Start, starts, started. Watch, watches, watched. Text, texts, texted. Dance, dances, danced.
Today, I've texted friends, tweeted with coworkers, I've emailed work contacts, I've Skyped with my girlfriend, I've spoken on the phone to a few people, I've chatted with people on the street. In fact, I've discussed all kinds of things, and I've watched lots of people talk on their phones. And I'm sure I've used my body to say things. But I'm not sure if any of us have communicated with each other very much.
1,
Which sign do you think makes people pay the most attention? Why?
2,
What rights is the man in the mask standing up for?
3,
Do you think any of these signs can actually change anyone's mind? If so, which?
4,
Which sign do you think is making the most important point?
5,
Do you think making a sign is the best way to get a message across? Why not? What other ways are there?
6,
Do you ever speak your mind in public like this? Why not?
One.
Hello. Now tell me why you are holding this sign.
Well, we need change. I'm hoping that this economic recession will end.
Why do you need a sign to do that?
Because I want people to know there are other people like me. I'm desperate. We don't have work. We don't have a future.
Do you think the sign will work?
I hope so, but I just don't know. But we have to do something. This crisis is killing us. If it makes people change their mind and join us, that would be good.
How long will you stay here for?
It doesn't matter, as long as necessary. As I said, I don't have a job to go to, so I really don't mind.
2.
Hi, just a couple of questions. You're holding a sign. What exactly does that sign mean? I mean, what is it saying?
Well, it's a protest, of course.
What kind of protest?
About climate change.
Why did you decide to dress like this animal? I mean, what made you want to dress like a polar bear?
It's a powerful symbol of what's happening as a consequence of global warming. Polar bears are losing their habitat because the ice at the North Pole is quickly disappearing. We need to do something now before it's too late.
Why did you use those particular words, though?
Because normally we write, "Save the animals" on our signs. I thought it was effective to turn that around. Sometimes you get more attention if you make a serious point, but with a sense of humor.
3,
How long did it take to make the sign? Was it difficult to make?
Well, about an hour, I think. No, it was easy. I made it with a friend.
Who gave you the idea?
Nobody. I just loved this soccer player. I asked myself, how could I show that? I thought the TV cameras might spot me, and they did. But I didn't want England to win this game, and, of course, he wasn't playing. But he was there in the crowd.
And what happened after the game? Did he say anything to you?
No, unfortunately, he didn't.
4,
So tell me, why are you here, sir?
Because I want to be the first in line to get one of these things.
How long have you been here?
24 hours. I slept here overnight.
Who is the sign for?
Well, for nobody really. It was just a joke. But it's really just for the other people in line, to let them know I got here first. And for the TV cameras and reporters. Quite a few people have taken photos, and others have stopped to talk to me.
1,
Hi, have you heard the news about Jenny?
2,
Did you watch the game last night?
3,
Hello. I see you got a little wet.
4,
Do you have any plans for the weekend?
5,
Hi, Joe. Are you feeling any better?
6,
How many of the people here do you know?
1.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
I'm Sonia Cruz.
I'm Michael. How many of the people here do you know? I don't know anyone.
Well, not many people. Just the host, really. And now you.
How did you meet Kathy and Craig?
We were in college together.
Wow, long time ago.
2,
Hi. So, do you have any plans for the weekend?
Not really. Just need to relax a little. That's all.
Me too.
Do you want sugar with yours? I can't remember.
No thanks.
3,
Morning, Gary. How's it going?
Good morning.
Did you watch the game last night?
Yeah, just reading about it. 5-0. Amazing.
Absolutely. Oh, this is my floor. See ya.
5,
Hello. I see you got a little wet.
Yeah, forgot my umbrella. I'm totally soaked. Oh well,
Nasty weather, eh?
so it seems. Sorry, I'm going to try and dry off a little. Is there a restroom on this train?
Yes, just go to the end of the car and you'll find it.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
5,
Hi.
Hi, did you hear the news about Jenny?
No, what happened?
The flight's been canceled. Air traffic control strike.
You're joking.
I just got an email. Did they send you one?
1,
Your face is really familiar.
2,
Excuse me, can I give you a hand with that?
3,
How are you feeling today?
4,
So, how do you know Sergio?
5,
What's the problem? You look terrible.
6,
What did you say your name was again?
7,
Hi, what are you up to?
8,
Did you sleep okay?
9,
Hi, what brings you here at this time of day?
10,
You don't know me, but
1,
I like the way he is concentrating so hard, and the light from the cell phone illuminates his face as he scrolls down the text on the screen.
2,
You never normally see a photo like this. I mean, you just hear people reading a script out loud, but you never see them. She's very relaxed and informal, which is different from how you see these people on TV.
3,
This would be many people's favorite place to read. You glance at a few lines of a novel and then close your eyes. You never usually get past the first paragraph, and the picture captures that.
4,
While you're waiting for the bus, this is a good place to check out the sport news. I like how the people are all reading, not really aware of each other.
5,
These are some candidates waiting to take an exam. They're looking through their notes for the last time. I remember doing that. It's too late to study anymore, but you still do it anyway.
6,
Sometimes there's no better place to read than in the bookstore itself. This guy seems to be looking up some important information in a reference book. It's something he has to know right away.
Beloved by Toni Morrison. This looks like a romantic novel. I mean, the title suggests that, but actually it's about the slave trade in the United States. It follows the life of a mother and daughter as they try to rebuild their lives after escaping from slavery. It's set in the United States at the end of the 19th century, so I think historical novel is the best description for it. Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. This is like a love story and a drama and a humorous novel all in one. The narrator looks back on his life in the 1960s as a student in Tokyo, so it's very nostalgic. It talks about the love affairs he had when he was younger. It's funny at times, but it has its tragic side as well. But if I had to choose, I think love story is the best description. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This is a story about the end of the world. We follow the story of a father and son as they walk across America. The country has been virtually destroyed, and only a few people have survived. Some people might think this is like science fiction or fantasy, but I think it's very real, which is what makes it so frightening. It's hard to classify, but I suppose it's an action-adventure story, but a very tragic one. The Number One Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. This story is set in Botswana, Africa. As the name suggests, it's a detective novel, but with a difference. It tells the story of Precious Ramatswe and her decision to become the first female private detective in Botswana. The crimes are ordinary crimes, and the problems are the everyday problems of the people of Botswana. There are touches of comedy, but also of tragedy. And above all, there's the taste of Africa, with all its colors, sights, and sounds.
Well, we have Tanya Kowitz here with us. Hi, Tanya. You've come into the studio today to tell us all about manga. I keep seeing it everywhere, but I must confess I don't know too much about it. Can you enlighten us?
Well, I figured that might be the case, so let me give you a brief introduction. The incredible thing about it is that in Japan, where manga comes from, it represents close to 25% of what people read, at least in print. In the US, novels are still the most popular, But in many parts of Tokyo, where I used to live, you can't walk more than 2 or 3 blocks without encountering these comics.
And these are young people, I presume.
Oh no, it isn't just for young people. Everybody reads manga. Business people and housewives alike. You can see them on the subway or even walking down the street, their heads buried in the latest series they're reading. Hiroshima even has a public library devoted to manga. But it's not just about books. You can even get manga novels sent in installments to your cell phone.
I was going to ask you about that. So manga's available in every shape and size.
Absolutely. And there's a reason for that. You know, nearly all of Japan's cultural production comes from manga. Most anime, animated, movies, cartoons and television series, as well as many video games and collectible figures, begin life as manga comics.
And what about outside Japan? Has this manga industry evolved in the same way?
Yes, for sure. Manga hadn't reached a global market before. But now, I'd say it could be the country's most influential export. I mean, one of the most popular, Naruto, is now translated into many languages, with adaptations, designed to suit different cultures.
So it's a global product, but it's localized for particular markets?
That's right. A UK firm has recently published manga versions of Shakespeare's most famous works, including Hamlet. Well, the character of Hamlet is the man we know and love, but the plot is very different, and so's the setting. In this manga version, Hamlet lives in the year 2107 on an Earth destroyed by global warming.
Wow, that's some change. What other stuff is out there?
Let me think about that one. Well, the World Bank and publisher Viz Media teamed up to produce a thing called One World Manga. It's a series of graphic novels in manga format with themes that address stuff like HIV/AIDS, poverty, and corruption. It's a great way to make young people aware of these things. They're donated to libraries so more people can read them. It's a great idea.
So would you say that mangas become a central part of popular culture in many parts of the world?
Yeah, absolutely. You can even buy a Bible with manga-style illustrations. Can you believe that? And manga is even used by advertisers as a marketing device. You can see huge manga faces on billboards or simply to decorate the facades of buildings. So what started off as comic book, something you put in your pocket, just became the biggest icon the world has ever seen. And this is helping manga become truly international. It's not just Japanese anymore.
Wow, that shows you what popularity can do. Incredible, Tanya. The images are amazing. Thanks for sharing them with us.
1.
Manga represents nearly a quarter of what the Japanese read.
2.
Tanya used to live in Tokyo.
3.
Hiroshima has a special library devoted to manga.
4.
The plot of the manga Hamlet is very different from the original version.
5.
One World manga are comics that look at serious global issues, such as AIDS.
6.
Large manga faces are used on billboards or to decorate the facades of buildings.
7.
Tanya's final point is that manga is becoming truly international.
1.
I loved the original, but the movie version was terrible.
2.
I like Lisa Simpson. She's my favorite character on the show.
3.
The book was great, but I had trouble understanding the plot. It was really complicated.
4.
Tintin was the first comic book I read as a kid.
5.
I mostly read fiction, though not bestsellers. They aren't always that good.
The first image is from a Hollywood movie from the 1990s, starring Sylvester Stallone. It's actually called Cliffhanger, and it's set in the Rocky Mountains. It is basically a series of cliffhangers, literally each one more impossible than the last, building up to the climax, where good finally triumphs over evil. The suspense keeps the audience glued to their seats, and later, when the movie appeared on TV, it meant they stayed there through the commercial breaks and didn't change the channel. The second image is taken from a classic serial movie from the 1930s. Serial movies told short stories about heroes who were forever getting into trouble. They lasted about 20 minutes to half an hour and always ended with a cliffhanger in order to encourage the audience to return the next week to see what happened to their hero. Slowly, the serial movies disappeared, and they were replaced by TV series instead. The third photo is an image from an American TV series, CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. This is actually the closing image of the last episode of the 11th season. The intention is to keep the viewers hanging on, not just for the next episode, but for the next season. And now that a lot of TV series are actually watched on DVD, I suppose the point is to encourage you to buy the next season.
Did you used to watch a lot of TV when you were a kid?
No, we didn't used to have a TV, but we used to go to the movies a lot.
Evening, listeners. Today, journalist Louise Fryer talks about the image of two men reading on the Grand Concourse of Union Station and sees a metaphor for how badly we read these days.
I think this image is really revealing. You see more people now, like the man on the left, gazing into a screen or a smartphone, don't you? How many people still read a paper like the man on the right? Does that mean the printed word will disappear? Perhaps, but I'm not sure that's the problem. The main problem, I think, is that we don't read well anymore. Before, we used to read in depth the long texts we had to interpret. Now we just scroll down text on the screen. We don't take it in. We don't absorb the information. And when we get bored, we just open another window or click on another icon. Not only that, we don't read enough. What we tend to do is read the same information again and again. We click on the same websites to check the same information to see if there's been an update. Is the weather forecast different to what it was an hour ago? Has the price of that flight changed? Has anybody responded to my blog in the last half hour? Because we can read like this, checking and checking again, we have become anxious readers. We don't know how to read for relaxation anymore. Take away the technology for a week and see what happens. See what you will discover about the world.
One, Joe.
I don't agree at all. The people Louise talks about are just bored. They have too much time to waste to read all that information again and again.
2, Ilana.
I prefer books, the printed word. So I really see Louise's point, but I don't think it's a problem of technology. You can read very well on screen, it's just easier to lose your concentration and browse somewhere else.
3, Svetlana.
I agree to some extent. I think what she said makes a lot of sense. We have to spend a day or two without technology to realize that. We read the same information again and again, and it's so trivial.
4, Mark.
I don't see it that way. We read differently, but we don't read any worse than we did when we only had paper. Reading is more dynamic and enjoyable online.
5, Flavio.
I couldn't agree more. I hate reading online, but I think it's a personal thing. A whole new generation only reads online, it seems. Are they any worse for this? There's no proof they are.
6, Adam.
I'm afraid she's wrong about that. This is the typical argument of someone who cannot come to terms with new technology and blames it for everything.
1,
You know, I don't agree at all.
2,
So I really see Louise's point, but
3,
I agree to some extent, I think.
4,
You know, I don't see it that way.
5,
I couldn't agree more, but
6,
I'm afraid she's wrong about that.
I took this photo in Patagonia in Argentina. The two narrow peaks that you can see are called Fitzroy and Cerro Torre. We had spent a few weeks hiking around that area, and this was the end of the last day of our trip. We were driving back on that desolate highway, and the light was dying, when I caught a glimpse of the mountain range in the rearview mirror and thought, I just need to take one last photo of that horizon. It turned out to be the best photo I had taken on that whole trip.
One.
I love this mural. It's amazing how he takes these derelict old buildings and turns them into works of art. I was amazed when I first saw it. Really amazed.
Yes, I know what you mean. But the images are pretty disturbing sometimes. I mean, all those rats.
Yeah, I guess his murals of rabbits are less shocking.
2.
Hey, this is a great photo. What is it?
It's an installation in an open-air sculpture park not far from where we live. It was a very hot day, and we were really surprised and so pleased when we came across this last installation. We had no idea it was there. There was a tunnel into the hillside, and then we came out into this, underground room. And there was this pool. And in the middle, a strange tower. It was so cool and fresh. Just what we needed.
3.
So, did you get to see the Mona Lisa?
Yes, eventually, but we had to stand in line for hours. And then when we finally did get to see the painting, it was so disappointing. It's so small, and the room was so full of people you couldn't see a thing. It was so annoying, all these people taking photos with their phones.
4.
Is that Rodin? The thinker? Where is it?
There was an exhibition downtown with 6 or 7 Rodin sculptures. And this one, of course. The kids look really bored, don't they? But actually, they're just imitating the statue's pose.
5.
Have you ever seen any of these 3D street drawings? People draw them on the sidewalk or pavement with chalk, but they're in 3D, and some of them look like there's a hole or something. Look, I have a photo of one on my phone. I tell you, this one is so lifelike that the first time you see it, it's terrifying.
1.
It's amazing how he takes these derelict old buildings and turns them into works of art.
2.
Yes, but the images are pretty disturbing sometimes. I mean, all those rats.
3.
We were really surprised when we came across this last installation.
4.
It was so annoying, all these people taking photos with their phones.
5.
The kids look really bored, don't they? But actually, they're just imitating the statue's pose.
6.
I tell you, this one is so lifelike that the first time you see it, it's terrifying.
This isn't very nice.
Not very nice? It's totally disgusting.
1.
This is very interesting.
Interesting? It's absolutely fascinating.
2.
I'm very tired after that walk.
Tired? I'm completely exhausted.
3.
Hey, this is pretty good, you know.
Good? It's really fantastic.
This is a photo of Trafalgar Square in central London. It's one of London's best-known squares. It attracts millions of visitors every year and has often been at the centre of public demonstrations. In each corner of the square there is a plinth, an enormous stone platform. 3 of these plinths hold a permanent statue, but the 4th plinth, the one you can see in the image, stood empty for over 150 years. It was originally designed to hold a statue of a horse, but due to lack of money, the statue was never built. In 1998, the local authorities started to experiment with different statues. These experiments were very popular and attracted even more visitors to the square, and a lot of discussion about what exactly should stand on the plinth. In 2010, the Mayor of London announced a competition that would take place every 2 years where the public would decide. In the first competition, a number of sculptures were suggested, and the public voted to choose their 2 favorite statues, one for 2012, the year of the London Olympics, and the other for the year 2013.
So, what do you think of these 6 sculptures, Luke?
Well, I think I know which one will win, but it's not my favorite.
Well, tell us your favorite.
Don't laugh. I like the cake. It's by far the funniest.
Really? No, I mean, the bird's definitely the funniest and by far the most colorful. Well, I think it's as funny as the cake, don't you? And it will look great in the square. It will be such a shock to the people of London. It's just a crazy, crazy idea.
Oh, come on. You can't be serious, Miguel.
Okay, so which one would you vote for, Stefania?
Me? I vote for the brass boy on his toy horse. It's a very personal image. Everybody can relate to that. It's much more elegant than the bird anyway.
You're right, but I think a sense of humor is important. Anyway, that cake has a history, you know. It's a little more interesting than you think. It's called Battenberg, and it was very popular at the time the plinth was built. I really think it's the most intelligent one.
You, man. You like the funny ones. What do you think, Amelia?
My favorite is the general on the horse. It's so simple, I don't know. I think it's a little more appropriate, that's all. For me, the boy on his horse is not as good. I don't know why.
No way, that's the worst.
Not at all. Did you know the original statue is actually around the corner from Trafalgar Square? It has beautiful decoration. I think it's a lot more artistic than the others. Those beautiful jewels, look at the...
She's trying to convince us.
Anyway, you never told us which one you think is going to win.
Well, you know, I like cake, and I think the mountain landscape is one of the best too, but I think the horse will win.
Which horse? There are 2.
The boy on the brass horse. It's not as strange as the others. It's classic. If it's going to be in Trafalgar Square, they're going to choose something classic that fits in with the architecture. Don't you think?
I'm not sure, but that's my choice as well.
This is one of my favorite places in town. I love to sit here drinking coffee and watching the world go by. It's a large town, and a huge variety of people walk down the street. Young and old, tourists and locals, all kinds of cultures and backgrounds, all going about their business. I love watching them and imagining where they're going, what they're like, what they're thinking. It's so much more interesting than just staring into space. Sometimes I watch the people at the next table and tune into their conversations. Is that bad? I know I shouldn't really listen in on other people's conversations. And if they're too personal, then I turn away. But usually they're simply passing the time of day or talking about work. It's surprising how many people come here to have business meetings over a cup of coffee.
I don't understand what the problem with this building is. The crazy design, that's the idea. What I like is that it matches what's inside. So much modern music is crazy, and that fits with the building somehow. The most important thing is that people are talking about it. That doesn't happen with most buildings, which we don't even notice.
Maybe Frank has a point there. But what I hate about it is the location. There was a beautiful park there before, and now we have to look at this thing. Ugh, I mean, it's absolutely grotesque.
Jane's right, the building's embarrassing. I mean, I'm embarrassed to look at it. The problem is that the architect is famous and nobody wants to criticize him. That's the problem. Yeah, okay, we all know it's a work of art, but it's a bad one. I don't want to have to see that every day of the week. That's why works of art should be inside museums. Buildings should be functional.
I don't agree with Adrian. I mean, why put a museum about creativity in a gray square box? The best thing about it is that it's controversial. It provokes debate. You can't be indifferent to it, can you? I mean, you either love it or hate it. And technologically, it's incredible. The building is a sculpture. The architect intended it to be like that. A work of art in its own right, you know? Our city should celebrate that, not criticize it.
One.
What I like is that it matches what's inside.
2.
That's the best thing about it.
3.
The most important thing is that people are talking about it.
4.
The problem is that the architect is famous.
5.
What I hate about it is the position.
Excuse me, do you have a few minutes?
Sorry, no. I'm on the way to work.
2.
Excuse me, I wonder if you could answer a few questions?
Sorry, I've already answered.
Okay, thank you.
3.
Good morning. Do you have a few minutes to answer a short survey? We're offering 20 free prints to everyone who answers our questionnaire.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Just a few quick questions to start with. How old are you? Between 18 and 25? Between 26 and 30? Over 30?
Between 26 and 30.
Okay, thanks. Do you have a digital camera?
A digital camera? No, I use the camera on my phone.
What kind of phone do you have?
Here it is. See, it's a...
Okay, thank you. Just one last question. Do you ever print your photos on photographic paper?
No, never. It's too expensive.
Well, thanks for taking the time to complete the survey. Here's a voucher for 20 free prints. Bring in your phone or the memory card, and we'll print 20 of your favorite photos.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
One.
Excuse me, do you have a few minutes?
2.
Excuse me, I wonder if you could answer a few questions.
3.
Good morning. Do you have a few minutes to answer a short survey?
4.
Okay, thank you. Just one last question.
1.
How do you know John?
I met him at a party like this one.
2.
You don't know me, but I'm Carl.
Hello, I'm Mary.
I love romantic stories, and one of the best I know is how my parents met. Apparently, they were sitting next to each other on a plane to Sydney. As soon as they started talking, my mom knew that she had met somebody very special. They had lots of things in common. Both of them were going to visit family in Australia, and that was exciting because neither of them had been there before. It was their first time. They had both gotten divorced recently, and both were thinking about starting a new life in a new land. In the end, they decided that they could do that together. Isn't that incredible? Just from one conversation on a plane?
One.
I think reading aloud is a great way to learn a language.
I don't agree at all.
2,
Some people can tell entertaining stories and jokes, and others just can't.
I agree to some extent.
3,
I love reading a good book.
I couldn't agree more.
What I like about it is that it's free.
Yes, that's the best thing about the show for me. The exhibition is a really good value.
The only problem is that I don't like any of the art.
1, Javier.
I'm really lucky. I have a few English-speaking friends. They're exchange students studying at my university. They don't speak much French. One's Dutch, another's Brazilian. We get together once a week and have a language exchange. A little bit of French, a little bit of Portuguese, not much Dutch. But the main language we use together is English. It's really helping me. I feel so much more confident. It's definitely the best way to learn.
2, Sue.
When I was studying Spanish in school, I used to listen to the radio in Spanish all the time. Absolutely anything. The news, the weather, sport, I didn't care. And every now and then, they would show a movie in Spanish on the TV. I used to like watching them with the subtitles in English over and over again until I understood every word they said.
3, Cat.
Music has to be one of the most important things for me. It is absolutely incredible how easy it is to remember words when you associate them with music. I spend hours and hours watching videos of my favorite bands and reading their lyrics online. What did people used to do before YouTube? It is a totally amazing language learning tool. And it's not just music, of course. There are chat rooms and so much more. I don't think you need a language learning classroom anymore. You can learn it all online.